Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 19th June 2020, and these are the articles we'll be dealing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Indian Express and it is titled Coal Sector is Coming Out of the Lockdown. So this is about how the long pending reforms with respect to coal sector are finally shaping up and how it is going to impact our economy. Even in the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan package, our finance minister announced that there will be a set of reforms in the coal sector which will be finally taking a shape. So, if we have to go back to the history of coal blocks and the coal sector as such, we have to go back to the year 1973. It is in this year the coal sector was nationalized through a Nationalization Act 1973. To be specific, it is called the Coal Mines Nationalization Act 1973. So, this means that only government companies can extract and sell coal. However, we have to note a point that it does not mean that if a private company wants a coal block for its usage, it cannot have it. That is not the point after this nationalization. Say if a private company has a steel plant and want coal, then they have to approach the Ministry of Coal, and Ministry of Coal used to give that private company a coal block or a coal mine. So the company was allowed to extract coal, but there is a clause. So this is called captive mining, meaning they can use this particular coal block only for that particular power plant. Say for example, if there is Tata Power. If Tata Power or Tata Steel wants to use coal, they will have to approach the coal ministry separately. Tata Power will be given a different coal block and Tata Steel will be given a different coal block. And even if Tata Steel had another steel plant, they cannot use the coal from the one that is allocated to the first steel plant. So, this is the problem. You can only use it for the purpose for which it was granted. Now, how do you get access to this coal power? There was a lot of problem with this entire mechanism. There was a lot of corruption involved, and as a result, there was no transparency, and because of the huge corruption involved, there was a call for coal sector reforms. In September 2014, the Supreme Court declared that this policy of allocation of coal blocks on a recommendation by a particular committee of the government is null and void. There should be certain transparency in how we allocate coal blocks. So, in February 2015, the government decided to come up with a new act which said Coal Mines Special Provision Act 2015 will be taking up auctions electronically and ensure that there is transparency. So this created a new regime. How is this going to happen? It is going to happen through an auction per ton basis. In this law, there was also a clause for commercial mining. That is something that is not captive mining. If you are allocated a coal block, you are free to commercially exploit it as well. This is in contrast with what captive mining means. But the problem is this clause for commercial mining was not notified by the government up till February 2018. However, this notification in February 2018 also did not mean that automatically coal will come into auction. So, after all these years, after a long wait, now the government has decided that it will immediately auction 50 blocks for commercial mining, and it will be done on revenue sharing basis. Now, what do you mean by this revenue sharing basis? Revenue sharing here means, suppose for example, a company says that I will give you or the government 50% of the revenue that I am going to get from the sale of this coal. Now, if a company says that I will give you 60%, naturally the auction will be leading to a allocation of coal block to the company which offers this higher percentage. That is the meaning of revenue sharing basis. India is supposed to save up to 30,000 crore annually on import bill of thermal coal. Therefore, whatever the government is doing right now has been pending ever since 2014. So finally, we are witnessing a significant change in coal sector. But the problem here we have to note is, across the world, there is a falling demand for non-renewable sources of energy. And in this context, we have to understand that India is on the front line to use this coal and develop the economy. That is the gist of this article. The next article for the day is taken from the Hindu and it is titled At the High Table. So, on 17th June 2020, the election for 5 non-permanent members of the United Nations Security Council was held. So, in this context, India stood unopposed as the nominee for Asia Pacific seat, and this is for the 2021-22 term and needed 2/3 of the votes in UNGA, that is 129 votes. India has secured 184 votes. In 2019, the candidature of India was unanimously endorsed by the 55-member Asia Pacific group. Now here is the interesting point. This 55-member Asia Pacific group also included China and Pakistan as well. Note this point. So after this, what is the India's commitment after its win? That is the main point of this article. So in its campaign brochure, India highlighted that it will commit itself to multilateralism. Now India's objective will be the achievement of norms. What is this norms? A new orientation for a reformed multilateral system. So a reformed multilateralism and multilateral system is definitely essential to ensure the international system is inclusive and caters to the requirements of all the countries. Now we have a situation where one hegemon is trying to dominate the other, and ever since the formation of the Bretton Woods institutions or the institutions of the post World War era, we have always had one or two global powers trying to dominate each other and the rest of the countries playing their second fiddle. Now India does not want such a kind of a scenario. It demands for transparency in mandates for all the UN activities, including the UN peacekeeping missions. India also has a push for the Indian-led comprehensive convention for international terrorism. So this includes the major objectives like having a universal definition of terrorism, banning all terrorist groups, prosecuting all terrorists under special laws, and to make cross-border terrorism an extraditable offence across the world. So this requires efforts from UN as well as there is a need for expansion of UN Security Council. So India's presence in UNSC will ensure that the voice of the largest democracy of the world with a strong multilateral credentials will be heard in an important organ of the United States. So there is definitely a greater opportunity for India to participate actively and shape up the post-COVID world. In the presence of such a ethos where India believes in the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, where the entire world is a global family, we can definitely usher a world where the global south has its development and security aspirations at the heart, and India will definitely help in articulating these aspirations at the council. Therefore, India is going to be a part of UNSC, and India therefore should ensure that its vision of being the Vishwaguru should be taken forward by its activities. That is the gist of this article.